This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Lee Rosen and Ned Days cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on using project management techniques in your law firm for better efficiency and higher levels of client satisfaction. An answer to a member question about how to scale your business down rather than up, as well as sessions from our Operations Outline program all about the critically important operations of your firm. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Lee Rosen.
It's good to be with you today from Trieste, Italy. It's great to be back in Italy because, well, Italy is just always awesome. There are so many good reasons that keep bringing us back to Italy. But Trieste, well, this is a first visit for us, and Trieste has something that I really didn't expect. Out in the harbor of this city is Sailing Yacht A. It's anchored right there just off the coast, and it's a $500 million sailboat that the Italian government impounded from a Russian billionaire back at the start of the war in Ukraine. We got to know the boat when we were spending time in Iceland during COVID. We were staying in a little village way up in the north of the country, and the yacht was anchored right there, and we spent all sorts of time watching it through our binoculars. It was really fun to see the comings and goings of the billionaire owner of the boat. He flew in a time or two on a helicopter. It was all really interesting, at least to me. Now, seeing the boat again after it has been impounded by the government is equally fascinating. The life of a billionaire, it's pretty interesting stuff.
It's time for your tech tip. You are no doubt aware that I love AI note-taking services. It is a drum that I have been beating for a long time, and I've never had a particularly strong preference for one over another, since they are all relatively similar in terms of what they offer. But there is a service called Querious available at Querious.ai, specifically geared toward law firms, with several neat tricks up its sleeve that likely make it a better option than more general purpose tools for some practices. It works just like you would expect. You connect your calendar or add the Querious app from the Zoom or Teams marketplace, and the bot sits in on your calls, then provides you with a summary and outline when the call is done. But more importantly, it identifies specific legal issues and topics being discussed, as well as giving summaries and links to relevant case law. That's pretty nice by itself, but what is much more interesting is that it can do this in real time as you are on the call. If you are hosting a meeting in Zoom or Teams, you get a real-time sidebar outlining topics and legal issues that have been identified as you are speaking. Google Meet doesn't support this kind of sidebar functionality, but you can log into the Querious dashboard and see the notes in real time there if you are on a Google call. So not only is a list of legal issues and topics being recorded for your meeting summaries, but you also get real-time condensed details from case law across governmental and educational sites, as well as vetted legal resources on the web, along with all of the links to wherever the information is coming from, either to review on the call or look at later. You can imagine that for everything from intake calls where a lot of information is being thrown at you at once, client calls where there may be all kinds of tangents or details to keep on top of, or even internal calls like case status meetings where it would be handy to have some quick answers on tricky topics, having all of those issues brought front and center, not just after the call is done, but while you are still in the discussion and able to circle back to iron out issues, is a very powerful feature. Another big plus is data security. I know a lot of attorneys are using these AI note takers already, either the ones built into your video calling platform or third-party options that work across all of your calls. But some of the biggest questions and concerns I hear are, how exactly is this data being stored? Is it being used to further train these AI models? Or is potentially sensitive client data being recorded somewhere we don't want it? We aren't in the business of taking phone orders for magazine subscriptions. We are often on calls where incredibly sensitive client and business information is being discussed, and leaking details inadvertently, even if only to some cloud training model, would be a bit of a disaster. Because Querious is specifically targeted for this use case, there are a few things it intentionally doesn't do or doesn't provide. It deletes the audio snippets it uses for transcription once the call is done and processed, so there's no audio recording of the call afterward. It doesn't provide full transcripts, just the detailed summaries and the legal issues and research that it finds. It's also smart enough to remove personally identifiable information, so even though you can easily save summaries to a matter in your practice management system when the call is done, if a summary is somehow leaked, there aren't names and social security numbers sitting around for anyone to wreak havoc with. It's also using a private ChatGPT instance for transcription and processing on Microsoft's Azure cloud, so the data isn't being monitored or used for training the AI model. Now, one of the least sexy but possibly most useful features is that Querious integrates with Smokeball and Clio so that you are essentially a button press away from adding a pre-filled billing entry to the relevant matter along with the call summary. Now, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, why on earth would I need an easy way to create billing records from client calls? My associates are always on the ball about billing for client interactions and never do silly things like waiting until the end of the month and then making a mad scramble to tally up billable hours or just not billing for calls at all. But I have been told that there are in fact firms that suffer with such problems. Not yours, obviously, but others. There is a very generous free tier that includes 10 meetings per month and comes with all of the goodies, so the real-time prompts, the summaries, Clio and Smokeball integrations, and all of the security features. Paid plans start at about $100 per month per user and include unlimited calls, so you can have Querious sit in on all of your calls and meetings and essentially use it as a replacement for something like Fireflies or Otter. And while I usually find myself more on the side of general purpose tools than legal specific ones, the real-time research, the data security, and the integration with Clio and Smokeball make this pretty attractive if that kind of functionality is applicable for your practice. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip.
And now for your moment of concise advice. Picture this. A company is building a nuclear reactor, huge, complex, dangerous work, and they call a meeting. The engineers sit around the table, and nobody says a word about the reactor. The reactor, it's too complicated, it's too intimidating, it's too risky to look stupid saying the wrong thing about this big project, so they don't mention it in their discussion. Instead, all these engineers, they spend 3 hours arguing about the design of the bike shed that's going to be in the parking lot across the street from the reactor. They talk about the color of the paint, the size of the door, how many bikes it'll house. Everyone has an opinion on the bike shed, but nobody wants to touch the reactor. It goes unmentioned. That's called the law of triviality. We ignore the big, complex, mission-critical problems, and we obsess over the small, easy, meaningless ones. Why is that? Well, it's because it feels better. It feels safer. It feels like we're doing something important. Meanwhile, the real danger, the thing that matters, it grows unchecked. And unfortunately, we all do it. I know that I do. We do it in our practices. All of us, we do it all the time. You tweak the website font instead of fixing the intake process that's leaking clients. You redesign the logo instead of raising your prices when you're already way under market. You rearrange your office furniture instead of confronting the partner who is just wrecking the morale of the law firm. Bike sheds. It's all bike sheds. You want to know what separates the people who move fast and scale big from the people who stay stuck for decades? It's not money. It's not talent. It's the willingness to walk straight past the bike shed and into the nuclear core. The people who win, they don't waste their days sanding the banister on the Titanic. No. They find the leaks, they patch the holes, they steer the ship, they fix the reactor. So today, this week, find your bike shed and then ignore it. Walk straight to the problem that you're afraid of. That's where the real leverage lives, and that's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Trieste, thanks for spending a few minutes with me and Ned today. We hope you have a great weekend and an even better week next week. Keep plugging away, moving forward, and getting things done. You're on the right track. You'll get there. I promise. We're all in this together, and together we build better practices through better marketing, better management, and better technology. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of lawyers focused on working on, instead of in their practices. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your firm. Sign up for free at roseninstitute.com.